I am a hiring manager at a tech company, and I was hiring for summer internships a little while ago. We had a guy, about 19 years old, applying for a summer internship between his freshman and sophomore years of college. It was a virtual interview over Zoom because of COVID. A minute or two in, when I was introducing myself, his mom came in and introduced herself and started talking about her son's work ethic. I thought it was a little strange. I said something polite about wanting to hear from him. She just didn't get the hint and kept coming into camera frame during the interview and interrupting her son to answer questions for him. I asked a few technical questions which he seemed to answer well and then cut the interview fairly short. I thought that was all over and done with until I'd gotten an email from a woman a month later asking about her son's application. She seemed offended he hadn't gotten an acceptance or rejection. It bothered me. I felt bad for the kid, honestly. Way back when I was a teenager, my mom used to pull the same shit, but luckily she only did that when I was 15 and working for a day camp, not when I was an adult applying for engineering jobs. But I felt like this poor kid was getting his chances ruined because his mom wasn't giving him the chance to apply on his own. I sent an email back saying I was not at liberty to send information about an application to anybody but the applicant. I also asked HR to send an email to the kid saying sorry, but we were not making him an offer. It is something we usually do, but his rejection email must have slipped through the cracks with all the COVID craziness. Anyway, after we sent that, I got a phone call from his mom. She had a forwarded copy of the email, and she was demanding answers. I said that I could not comment on the guy's performance in the interview to her as she was not the applicant. If he wanted to reach out to me, I was happy to give him some feedback. However, I could say that regardless of his performance, her presence in the interview took him out of consideration for the position. We were looking for an independent and self-driven person for the position, and for that reason, it is important to see an applicant speak for themselves, follow up themselves, etc. I also said that, as a piece of advice, every hiring manager I've met in my career who sees someone other than the applicant answering questions during an interview, following up on the applicant's behalf, etc., would also put their resume in the do not hire pile. Since, while the applicant may be skilled and motivated, they need the ability to demonstrate those traits themselves. She blew up at me over that, kinda cussing me out to the point where I hung up. Am I the a-hole for how I handled this? Maybe I should have kept my mouth shut way earlier. Not the a-hole. It's probably better for the kid you told her directly, seeing as she clearly does not respect him enough to believe him if he disclosed she cost him the job. She snapped at you because you gave her feedback that painted her in a poor light and she thought she did her son a wonderful favor. You're probably the first person in a while to stand up to her. You're right, she needed someone to burst her freaking bubble. Though I kind of feel bad for that guy because he probably doesn't want his mother to baby him like that, but he's in a pickle because he seemingly still lives with her. Not the a-hole, but take that with a grain of salt, as in the end that dude was treated unfairly for things out of his control. Maybe he should have been given some sort of chance. I mean, even his interview was cut short, so he had no way to make up for that. A lot of you probs don't realize the extent someone like this goes to. Boundaries is not in her vocabulary. Son asks her to leave, screaming fit. Son tells her to let him speak, don't you dare talk over me. Son asks her to leave him alone for X amount, this is my house, my rules. If she's that extreme, there's nothing he can do until school starts again and he can go back to the dorms. Nothing. Yeah, poor guy lives with his mother, can't move out until he has money for rent, can't get money for rent without a job, and can't get a job while he lives with his mother. Hopefully when COVID calms down he can get in-person interviews where his mother can't ruin his chances. Not the a-hole. Helicopter mom needed to be put in her place. Hopefully she learns. Sadly, while I think it's shitty someone gets put in the DNH pile for something like that, I can completely understand why. Hopefully the young man can solve that issue and get hired on somewhere. I was raised by parents who believed, religiously and just culturally, in rigid gender roles. Dad should work, mom should stay home with the kids. I'm the only girl and have 3 brothers. Because of their expectation I'd stay home with kids, they never valued my education, educational achievements or emphasized things beyond domestic skills. I'm the second youngest. By the time I was in high school, My two older brothers had gone to the college of their choice, with my parents fully covering tuition, books, an off-campus apartment and other living expenses. They eventually did the same for my younger brother. I was told I wasn't allowed to apply for college. I did so in secret and got accepted with a partial scholarship. I didn't tell them I was moving out until a week before I left, with essentially nothing but what a few friends gave to me that their parents bought them for college. I took engineering and had to work, take on debt and struggle. My parents and I have barely spoken for years. I'm married now and expecting our first child, and they asked to meet up. We met at a park and they said they were sorry if they caused me pain but would like a relationship now. I asked them specifically what they were sorry for. They wouldn't elaborate and just said they wanted to move forward. I said that wasn't sufficient. In the end, I said they could prove they were sorry by forwarding me the $100K my degree and college expenses were, just like they did for my brothers. My mom burst into tears, my dad said I wasn't being serious and I just left. Since then, I've been getting calls from my brothers telling me I'm being immature and hurtful. I don't think so at all. Not the a-hole. Hi from another engineer from a family filled with rage that she has all the talent that the boy was never up to. As far as I can see, your answer to them was perfect. It was very fair, and if they have fixed their appalling bigotry issues, they would be falling all over themselves begging you to take the money. Since they clearly have not fixed their bigotry, you don't want them around your child. Never, ever poison children by allowing bigots in their presence. No exceptions. That includes your bigoted brothers. Edited to add. I have a bachelor's, master's, and doctorate all in engineering. You have no idea how angry this makes them. Hopefully you will too, and we can all watch the bigots faint from sheer rage together. Exactly, they aren't sorry for how they treated OP, they just want to be able to have access to their grandkid. So, they can abuse it, if it's a girl, and turn it into a bigot no matter what. Not the a-hole, that's a generic, sorry you're upset non-apology. They're just around now, because they want to influence the baby. The $100K ask is fair if they have the means to pay it. And even if they don't, they somehow made it work for the other 3 siblings. That said, OP, what on earth are you thinking letting these people around your kids? She's pregnant and met up with them because they asked. Baby is still safe in her uterus. Not sure why you are accusing her of letting them around her kids when she said they've barely spoken in years, except for that meetup. Wow. I would typically say that you would be the a-hole, because expecting money from family is never a good thing, but I am making an exception here. No, you're not the a-hole. Being singled out like that because you are a woman is gross, and it's terribly unfair that your brothers got a free ride and you didn't for that one fact. Good on you though, for making your own way in spite of them. I am a high schooler with a weekend job at a coffee shop. My coworkers who work weekends are James, the owner's son, he goes to my school. He's a shift manager, but it's not a real formal thing, he's a friendly guy. Danielle, a college student who sometimes works weekends too. So sometimes customers will come in and just be angry about such little stuff. Like literally blow up about nothing. I dunno if they're in a bad mood already and looking for someone to take it out on or what, but it's a lot. Like how sad so you have to be a grown-ass man taking your anger out on high school and college kids. So, James and I were joking about having a little fun with them and hopefully getting them off our backs. So, one day I was at work and some guy was having a temper about how we don't make the coffee hot enough. Which I couldn't do a thing about because I gave it to him right out of the machine. So, James came in and was like, "Sir, is there a problem here?" And the guy started ranting at him too. So he was just like, "OP, this is unacceptable, you're fired." I started acting real sad, like, "No, please don't fire me, my family needs the money, I need this job, please," and he played up being a hard ass, telling me to take off my apron and leave. The angry guy started to backtrack, like, "It isn't that big of a problem, you don't need to fire her over it." I didn't mean it, and James was like, "No, we pride ourselves on the best customer service." Of course, after all that drama I still had my job, we were just acting. And we've done it a couple times, whenever a customer will lose their temper at Danielle or I, James will storm in and fire us. And almost every time, the person who had come in angry will apologize and say that they didn't mean it. It's kind of satisfying, making people realize their actions might actually have consequences. Anyway, I was telling my friends from school about this, and a few of them thought it was a mean prank to let someone go away thinking they'd gotten someone who desperately needs the money fired. Am I the a-hole for this joke? Not the a-hole. That's a perfect way of dealing with hostile customers. Agreed. And when the hostile customers try to backtrack, what they say makes it worth it. OP's tactic hopefully teaches them to stop complaining to service workers about things out of their control. I disagree. Just like giving a kid a cookie when they throw a temper tantrum simply reinforces that behavior, rewarding customers when they explode teaches them that ranting and raving gets results. So, they'll show up to another store or restaurant, something will tick them off, and they'll blow up again expecting employees to also bend over backwards, or I won't hesitate to have you fired. I've done it before. But if the customers are backtracking, it means they didn't like the result, so it's not reinforcement. Not the a-hole. I think it's hilarious and maybe it'll teach some people a lesson about controlling their a-holery.